Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Nature Lessons with Olivia. I'm Olivia, and I'm one of the Dewey's Island Conservancy turtle interns this summer. And Tuesday is when we share a nature lesson with you all. And today, I'm really excited because I'm going to be sharing some information with you all about some of my favorite animals on the planet, fish. So, if you saw my Mystery Monday post from last week, you may remember that our mystery picture was of fish gills. Today, we are going to be talking all about what makes a fish, including those gills. So, what are fish? Well, fish are animals, just like alligators, raccoons, dogs, and you and me. But what makes them different from other animals? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So to start us off, let's talk about some things that all fish have in common. Number 1, backbones. For starters, all fish are what are called vertebrates, which is just a big word that means all fish have a spine or a backbone, just like you and me. Now, some sea critters like sea stars or blue crabs, like Emily talked about last Tuesday, are what are called invertebrates, and that just means that they don't have a backbone, so they might look a little different. The second trait that sets fish apart is going to be their gills. All fish have gills, as you may have seen from this picture from this past Mystery Monday, and they use those gills to breathe, just like how we use our lungs to breathe. As humans, our lungs take oxygen from the air. Instead of lungs, fish have gills on the sides of their face, on their cheeks, which let them take oxygen from the water instead of the air. The next fishy trait we're going to talk about is the swim bladder. All bony fish, or fish with bony skeletons, have something called a swim bladder. Now, I know what you're thinking, but don't worry, this doesn't have anything to do with how fish go to the bathroom. Instead, the swim bladder is what fish use to help them float. So, you know how when you're swimming, your body likes to float. It likes to stay near the surface. And you can dive down, but eventually your body wants to come back up. That's because we have these two big balloons in our chest called lungs. Our lungs are full of air, and just like a beach ball that is filled with air, they are going to want to float in the water. But if you remember, fish don't have lungs, but they do have a swim bladder, which is like a balloon inside their body. Now, because fish don't want to float all the time, they can inflate and deflate their swim bladder with gas, which allows them to float or sink depending on what they want to do. You know, maybe there is a tasty critter near the seafloor, so they want to sink down to the bottom and catch that tasty treat. So basically, the swim bladder is in charge of the fish's buoyancy, or its ability to float or sink in the water. Now that is pretty neat. Last but not least, we're going to talk about how fish move around. Their fins. So, fish don't have arms or legs like us, right? Nope, they have what are called fins. They have these fins all around their body, their back, their stomach, their sides, and their tail, all to help them move through the water. The different fins have different jobs. Now, fish come in all different shapes and sizes, but for the most part, the fins have the following jobs. In general, their tail fins move back and forth, pushing them through the water, kind of like if you had flippers on your feet at the pool, helping you to swim forward. Next, they have fins on the sides called pectoral and pelvic fins, which keep the fish from sinking and help the fish steer and stop. Lastly, they have a fin on the top called a dorsal fin and the bottom called the anal fin, which help the fish keep upright in the water and prevent it from rolling over. So to summarize what we learned today, there are 4 main traits that fish have that when put together make a fish and set them apart from other animals. Number 1, backbones. Fish are vertebrates, just like you and me. Number 2, gills. Unlike you and me, fish don't have lungs and instead use gills to breathe underwater. Number 3, swim bladder. Fish have what is basically a balloon inside their body, which lets them control their buoyancy underwater. And number 4, fins. Fins are what allow fish to move through the water and be the fantastic swimmers we know them to be. So that is what makes a fish a fish. Thank you all so much for joining me for this week's nature lesson. I hope you all learned something and got to know our fishy friends a little bit better. I look forward to our next nature lesson together and hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye guys!